Hi guys, so for this video, I'm going to talk about the best settings to use in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 5. I feel like I make this same exact video every season, like almost word for word, but since you guys are always asking for it, here the heck it is. The settings I'm going to cover today will include the best brightness and colorblind mode options, the most optimal graphics settings to get you the best FPS, as well as where and how to cap your frames. I'm also going to show some really useful FPS boosts and tweaks that are outside the game. I usually don't do that for in-game settings videos. Regardless, these optimizations will make your game feel insanely responsive. So I hope you're all excited. I tried to include both console and PC settings. Either way, I'll shut up and let's get right on into it. Beginning with the top of your video settings, this is basically the only page we're going to look at, by the way. We have your window mode. Window mode is extremely straightforward because there is only one right option: full screen. Full screen mode will get you better FPS, lower latency, better everything. It will make your game run way smoother.
But Jerian, I can only play windowed full screen.
If that's the case, I really don't know why that is, then I highly suggest doing whatever you can to use full screen mode. That could mean going back to native, just resetting your game, whatever it is, go back to full screen mode. Combined with all of the optimizations I'm going to show later, full screen mode will get you the best performance possible. Use it. Moving on, the next setting we have is in-game resolution. I personally play on native resolution 1920 by 1080, but a lot of you guys might be better off on 1600 by 900. What you're looking at on your screen is currently 1920 by 1080, and what you're seeing after that, you should see the little transition, is 1600 by 900. You guys notice how it does not look stretched? Well, that's because it's not a stretched resolution. 1600 by 900 has the same exact aspect ratio as 1920 by 1080. It's simply just less pixels, therefore being a little bit blurrier. My basic rule of thumb is that if you can consistently get over 144 FPS no problem, then use 1920 by 1080. On the other hand, if you cannot, you can barely get over 60, use 1600 by 900 or lower. 1280 by 720 is not a bad option. That's if you're really struggling to get good FPS. I just personally think it makes things a little too blurry. I'm a noob. Regardless, our next setting to talk about is frame rate limit. The kind of interesting thing about frame rate limit is that it entirely depends on your monitor's refresh rate. You want to choose the next highest FPS limit above the refresh rate of your monitor. For example, let's say you play on 144 Hz, that's your monitor's refresh rate that you can look up. You want to cap your in-game frames at 160, not 144, one above it, 160. Basically, the only time this rule does not work is when you're on 240 Hz or 360 Hz. These values are so high that if you go anything higher than that, you're gonna get huge FPS stutters, and it's not gonna be too fun. Therefore, if you're like me, you play at 240 Hz, cap it at 240, and if you're somehow balling out on 360 Hz, cap it at 360. Onto the graphics settings, I recommend you leave your brightness at 100%. This season does not seem to have the same brightness issues as Season 2 did. You guys may remember, the nighttime was insanely dark, the entire map was blue, it was so hard to see. Season 5 though is pretty good. If anything, you might just want to lower your brightness, especially near the sand. Following up brightness, user interface is complete preference. All it does is change how your settings look. It makes it a little darker, a little more vibrant. Therefore, I leave mine on 1.0. I believe we're on colorblind mode. Colorblind mode is actually kind of important this season. No, it is not going to help you see in the storm. Code Life showed us in a video that they are all useless for that, but they will make your game look way more vibrant. What I'll do is I'll cycle through all three colorblind modes on their 5 strength, as well as their full or 10 strength, and then I'll also tell you guys what I think of them. Protanope is up first, and is in my opinion the best colorblind mode you can have. It does not make anything too dark, it also kind of eases the brightness of the sand. That stuff really hurts my eyes. Also, Boogie uses Protanope 10, so it's basically confirmed best colorblind mode you can select. After that is deteuranope, which I also do like. I'm not sure if I'd ever use it over no colorblind mode or over protanope, especially since the king himself, FaZe Mongrel, switched off of it. He was kind of the big pro that made everyone and their mother switch to deteuranope. Still, for those of you that prefer it, do not let me dissuade you. Keep using it. The last colorblind mode option, I kind of saved the worst for last, is tritanope. Do I really need to explain why tritanope is so dang bad? Just look at this. The game is incredibly bright as it is. When you combine that with the fact the storm is incredibly bright, with the fact that I'm playing at default brightness, tritanope is a no-no from me. By the way, I use no colorblind mode.
Yeah.
Now for the actually interesting stuff, let's get into your graphic options. Please, for the love of Papa Jerian, do not press the auto set quality button. This button will just spit out random settings, usually epic settings that will destroy your FPS. Auto set quality is bad. What's good is the quality presets, which I recommend putting on low. Low Low will put all your graphic options on the lowest setting possible, and we want that so we can tweak them later. As you may have noticed, however, when you turn the preset to low, your 3D res goes down to 44%. 44% is butt cheeks. I basically always put mine right back to 100%, but do not be afraid to toy around with it. This scale is essentially a slider for what we talked about before, which was your in-game res. 100% is 1920, 69.444 repeated percent would be 1600 by 900, and then 44.4% repeating would be 1280 by 720, aka what we got from the low preset. You see how that works? Math is pretty cool, right? I feel like most people do not know that. It's just good to know that the lower you go, the higher FPS you'll get. It just will not look as crispy as 100%. Speaking of looking crispy, the only setting you should change in the low preset is your textures. Why is that? The reason is that Fortnite is extremely CPU heavy. You can go in your task manager just to check, but I can almost guarantee you your CPU will be near 100% as you play. Do you know what PC part won't be at 100%? Yep, your GPU. We want our graphics cards to do way more work. Thus, to do that and to get us more FPS without making our CPU do any more work, we could change our textures to high or epic. I'm not kidding when I say that putting your textures on low will actually get you less FPS and way more input delay than having your textures on high or epic. It's strange, I know, but trust me, it works. You could even try it yourself. Second to last section, advanced graphics. I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. Like VSync, that's the worst setting ever, turn it off. Motion blur, also turn it off. Show FPS, turn it on to see your frames. And then DirectX version, I suggest trying both out. I've always been a huge supporter of DX12, you guys know that. I made like 30 videos on it. However, a few PC tweakers have told me that DX11 combined with the optimizations I'm gonna show will apparently make your game a tiny bit more responsive. I've seen some tests that say DX12 is better. I've seen some tests that say DX11 with all the tweaks are better. Just try out both and see which one you like more. It honestly depends a lot on your PC. On the topic of settings that depend on your PC, you should definitely play around with multi-threaded rendering. This setting is really good if your CPU has more than 4 cores. To check how many cores you have, go into your task manager, click performance, press on your CPU. You can see my big bad i9-10900K. Damn. And then look for the amount of cores you have. 4 and above, turn it on. 3 or less, turn it off. Still going down our advanced graphics list, turn use GPU crash debugging off. Turning it on will actually get you worse FPS. Then we have latency markers, turn that off. Nvidia Reflex low latency, turn that to on plus boost. That's probably the best setting Epic has ever added for your input delay. Unfortunately, however, you need an Nvidia graphics card to have the option. Anyways, let's pretend you have it. Turn latency flash off, and also turn off DLSS. A few months back, I made a really helpful and in-depth guide explaining all of those different settings. Definitely go watch that. It's one of my more informative videos. Right now though, I'm just going to talk about Nvidia Reflex low latency. That's the god setting. Straight from Nvidia's mouth, this setting delivers the lowest latency possible. What the on plus boost mode does in specific is that it makes your GPU fans run higher in CPU bound scenarios. You guys remember what I said before, right? Fortnite is extremely CPU heavy. That's why you need on plus boost on, why you want to play in full screen mode, and why you want to put your textures to epic. Oh, that actually reminds me, there's one other setting with on plus boost that you definitely need to change. This time it's in your Nvidia graphics settings. To find it, go into your Nvidia control panel by right clicking on your desktop, go over to the manage 3D settings tab on the left, and then scroll down to power management mode. Once you find it, click it and select prefer maximum performance. You need this for the Nvidia Reflex on plus boost to work as best as it possibly can. You also need to make sure you hit the adjust image settings with preview, and in the middle there, select use the advanced 3D image settings. These are what you need to get the lowest latency possible. itsJerian approved. The last and final setting before the FPS tricks is to turn off your ray tracing. Ray tracing is only available if you have DX12 on. It makes your game look really cool, but it will demolish your FPS. I'm talking 60 FPS on a 3090. Do not ever turn it on. Turn it off right now forever. Alright, so this is not the new one. I have showed it before. What you're gonna do is come down to your file explorer. Hopefully I don't have anything bad in here. Go to this PC on the left, and then go to the drive which your Fortnite is on. I have 2 drives, but I know it's on my C drive. To verify, if I click program files, I see Epic Games. That's Fortnite. I'm then gonna click that, click Fortnite, Fortnite game, binaries, Windows 64, and go down to the Fortnite client Windows 64 shipping. I think there's there's 4 of them. That's the battle eye, the easy anti-cheat, the launcher. You want the first one that just says shipping. With that, you're gonna right click on it, go down to properties, and on the top tab, go to compatibility. You should see this page. All you want to do is disable full screen optimizations. This should be checked. This is the trick that all the tweakers use to get the lowest input delay possible on DX11. It's also why all of them tell me to stop saying DX12 is better, because apparently this alongside DX11 will make your game more responsive in full screen mode than DX12. I think both are good though. Then the other new one, which is really helpful, it's from my boy Adam X. He has his own video on it if you guys want to check that out. But to perform this tweak, you got to come down to your Windows search, type in regedit. You should see the registry editor. You're going to want to hit H key local machine. That'll drop this down. Go to system at the bottom. After that, hit current control set, control, and then there's a ton of folders. Don't be scared. You're gonna find priority control. Once you click that, you should see 3 different options. You're gonna want to hit Windows 32 priority separation and change this value. First hit base hexadecimal actually. Do not forget that. Write whatever value you have down, because if you ever want to just go back, it's important. But I'm gonna change it to 28 for the lowest input delay possible. The other values that Adam X recommends, if you want smoother and a little more FPS but not as low input delay, is to change this to 16. You don't need to restart your PC. You can actually do this with Fortnite open. So maybe go into creative and do this and test different values. I recommend watching the Adam X video because he explains it a little more. From what I understand, it has to do with changing the quantum value in your processor scheduling, and that basically reduces the CPU time, making your game feel more responsive and/or boosting your FPS. Overall, guys, those are the best settings in Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 5. If you enjoyed the video or if you learned something new, do be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel somewhere down here, and to turn on my post notifications. Shout out to everyone on the screen for using code JERIAN. You guys know I love each and every one of you. Let me know if you used it for the battle pass or for the crew membership. I'm pretty sure both count. Either hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. Twitter, I usually reply the fastest. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later!